Studies show that in order to build trust and have it to get a referral takes 12 touch points. So that's a call, that's an email, that's a meeting, 12 touch points. So I try to do that with everyone that I have meetings with.
Welcome to the You Are a Lawyer podcast. Bryan Aghakhani, how are you today?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you, Kyla.
Yeah, I am really excited to talk to you because you're a lawyer out in California and it seems like you really enjoy being a lawyer, right? You're really positive about it. You want everybody to know the optimal outcomes for their clients and how they can market themselves. And would you tell the audience a little bit about what you're doing and what the day-to-day is like for you?
Of course. And I think it's a good question because the day to day for any attorney may look different, right? So I'm a partner at Borden and Semmer. We're personal injury trial attorneys. We handle various cases such as car accidents, premises liability, which means any fact pattern that relate on a property, some wrongful death stuff, some landlord tenant disputes, and we even do employment cases. Now, as a partner, my day to day looks a lot different than some others. So, for example, a lot of my time is dedicated to client interface, marketing, trial work, mediation, and deposition. And we can kind of break that apart and get into each one. But, for example, let's start with marketing, right? I think off the air, you and I were talking about how law school doesn't necessarily prepare you for becoming an attorney or how to be an attorney, right? It doesn't teach you. They work you to death and they bore you to death, but they don't really teach you how to be an attorney. And one of that is marketing. So the way my day-to-day looks with marketing is I'm in various marketing groups. One is called Provisors. I have another one that's called 10. Provisors is dedicated to various employments. 10 is dedicated solely to attorneys. I went to UCLA, so I'm a part of the Bruins Professionals Association as well. And through these different organizations, I go to meetings. I have a home group, and then I also guest at other meetings. I introduce myself with a 45-second elevator pitch. And then after each meeting, you meet with folks. You have something that are called troikas, where you meet with two other people. You have coffee, you have lunch, you get to know each other. A motto that we live by is no like, trust, refer. Because at the end of the day, you want to refer to get business, but you're only going to do that with people you like and you trust. And studies show that in order to build that trust and have it to get a referral takes 12 touch points. So that's a call, that's an email, that's a meeting, 12 touch points. So I try to do that with everyone that I have meetings with. And I actually create an Excel spreadsheet, and I keep the names, the contact information. Last time I met, and I have 60-day diaries on these folks. And when you meet with enough people, you'll eventually get business. And that's how you grow. It's not just your work product and who you are, but it's actually your book of business that will transition you from an associate to a partner. So my day-to-day as far as marketing, that's what it looks like. It's doing work, it's going to marketing, and then it's, coming back home and eventually ending my day and maybe going to the gym or something like that.
Yeah, so Bryan, two questions just keep going through my mind, right? Is marketing sales? That's my first question.
To directly answer your question, yes, because everything in life is a negotiation. Everything in a life is a form of sale. You're going on a date, you're selling yourself to the other person, right? That's what it is.
Yeah.
So it is. And I know the term sales or salesperson might have an icky connotation to it. And to an extent, you do need to have a personality to be, a salesperson. But I think once that is pushed aside and you just focus on selling your brand, selling your business and your results, then you'll feel more comfortable in putting yourself out there. And I know sometimes for folks, going into a room with 100 strangers with name tags and walking up to someone and having a conversation might not be the easiest thing to do. But once you're out of your comfort zone, you'll be able to sell yourself in your business and hold a conversation and communicate. And you'll get better at it. So
Yeah.
yes, it is a form of sales, but just do it, and do it, and you'll get better at it.
Yeah, I love sales.
There you
I
go.
didn't realize until a couple years ago that like everything is sales. Writing a resume is sales. Talking to someone in the elevator is sales. Going on a date is sales, right? Because you're constantly trying to put out, you're trying to convince somebody of something. I'm a good person. I'm someone you want to talk to on this podcast, right? And sales doesn't have to be that creepy, dirty thing. I think once people realize that everything is sales, buying a car obviously is sales, but like that salesman is trying to get your money. You're really the person they're trying to work. Like it just changes the dynamic when you realize that. But also, Bryan, is there a need for me to understand marketing if I am not looking for a new job or trying to leave my firm?
Yes, because I think it's what you said, right? What was the key term or phrase in your last comment to me? What I took your key term to be was you're always convincing somebody or trying to convince somebody of something. So true, right? So the idea is that you need to be able to use that tactic in order to, get anything you want, or to convince somebody of a certain position. For example, when I'm going out there and I'm trying to get a book of business, I use my background, my reputation, my stature in the community, things that I can to develop to convince that person to want to work with me or think of me and to have me on their current Rolodex of five personal injury attorneys or trial attorneys. That are on their go-to. But an interesting tactic, I think, is to not really talk about yourself, but to be focused on the other person, right? So one of our group leaders, and not even in my home group, in my provisors network, but in a Beverly Hills group that I go to a lot, really wonderful bunch. The leader has a phrase: when I go to my dry cleaner, he always asks me, how can I be of service to you? So when you go to a meeting, ask that person, how can I be a resource to you? How can I be of service to you? How can I help you? You are a real estate attorney. I actually know a few folks who are looking to purchase homes. They're going to buy homes. And then, if there's something with the sale or the transaction, I can relate you in. Or I might meet a realtor and say, hey, this person is looking to buy a home. Let me direct them your way. So then 6 months down the line, when their friend trips and falls and injures their back, knock on wood, they'll call me, right? I
Yeah.
think thinking of the other person is vital.
Yeah, it's definitely vital. And I think that's the way that I approach networking. And even when you go to these events where you may not know everyone in the room, ask people about themselves, right? For one, most people enjoy talking about themselves, but then they'll become more comfortable, right? They'll tell you the things that they think are the most important. And then that will spark the conversation. Like, I know if you're listening to this and you're in law school, you're like, yeah, whatever. You guys get it. You're already out there. No, we've just had a lot of practice. Every single repetition, every new event you go to, all of that is practice. And next thing you know, you're like, how did I become this confident lawyer? Because you've
Exactly.
had all the practice.
People love talking about themselves, and that's how they know a meeting went well, because they did all the talking, right? So it's kind of an 80-20 rule. If the other person is talking 80% of the time and you're talking 20, it's going great. If you're talking 90% of the time and they're talking 10, it's guarantee you it's a terrible meeting, right? So that's a really good way to see how it's going. And again, people don't necessarily remember what you say, they remember how you make them feel.
Yeah, it's true. All right, Bryan. So, at your law firm, did you step into this role? Was it existing, or did you create this role where you are doing marketing and networking and those kind of things?
It was a combination of our managing partner and I figuring out a way to use my skill set for the firm. And obviously, one of the parameters I needed to become a partner. So we just essentially set a plan out there for different ways where I can market for the firm, right? Whether you call it marketing, whether you call it sales, whether you call it organic business development, whatever you want to call it. It was working with him to find a plan to get new business and to grow existing business, right? So marketing is not just getting new clients, but it's making your current clients happy to send you more referrals, right? So it's both. So number one, it's, with the current clients, good results, client interface, making yourself likable to the point where they want to give you new business, good, successful results at trial, successful results at mediation. That plays itself because we pride ourselves in our results. With the new clients, it's getting yourself out there for the marketing groups, like I mentioned. It's going on wonderful podcasts like yours. It's reaching out to different listservs and responding to folks on listservs when they need help. And then they'll eventually come back to you and send you business because you helped them that one time. And just being proactive, right? So I've had folks that do something similar to me, but they don't have that Excel spreadsheet that I talked about, where I
Yeah.
actually diary following up with people every 60 days. So it was a combination of what I needed to do to become partner, and then a combination of what me and the managing partner decided would be the best avenue to get and maintain business for the firm.
So every time you talk about that spreadsheet, I make a little smile because I love spreadsheets. But also, I think that what you're doing is tracking your research, right? You're also making sure you have like those key performance indicators so that you know, oh, I've contacted this many people, or I know I have these calls coming up. But I think that that's important because, for one, lawyers love to know things. If you want to be knowledgeable about the law, about the president, about all the stuff, why not know your own metrics? I've talked to this many people. Or let's say you're starting really small. I want to go to 3 events in a month. Track those. And then when it gets to the last week of the month, you're like, I haven't done it. Because every time you set a goal and you complete it, you are proving to yourself, wow, I'm trustworthy. Look at all the stuff I can do. And I promise you, like, you'll then be able to build upon it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. And I think there's different ways to track that, right? Like it's the spreadsheet, Google Calendar. I use Google Calendar for my personal, and then I have my work calendar for my work. So I make sure that, for example, I'll have every Monday reach out to 5 new people, right? So I'll send 5 new emails to 5 new people that I may have had some contact with at some event, but not had a full blown conversation. And it'll be a very like quick, nice email like, hi, it was nice to meet you at X, Y, and Z event. I thought we had a great conversation. Seems like we may have some energy at your earliest convenience. Let me know if you want to grab a coffee or lunch. And just leave it.
Yeah.
They get back to you, great. They don't get back to you, great.
Or talk to you again in 59 days.
Exactly. Diary that one, right?
Yeah. So I get a lot of those emails. Hey, want to grab coffee, exchange synergies, but I get them on LinkedIn from people I've never talked to before.
I
It
get that.
sounds like you're doing things in a different way because you're following up with people you've already had a connection with.
Yeah, I mean, I get. I mean, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're trying to vet the difference between cold calling and warm calling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think here and there I might cold call, and trust me, I get plenty of those on LinkedIn, and especially the recruiters, right? They're nonstop. But I'll get, because we do personal injury work. I'll get a lot of chiropractors or doctors or medical legal panels, which are folks who have medical professionals on their panel in various aspects. They might be neurosurgeons, neurologists, podiatrists, whatever, and they want to solicit business to personal injury firms. So I'll get those. Some of them pan out, some of them don't. But I think there's no substitute for, especially in person. But if you can't do in person, if you can remotely meet someone and see somebody's face and have a live interaction with them, it's just 100 times better than getting a cold call written correspondence.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Brian, I always ask every guest that comes on the show what advice they have for young lawyers, so 5 years practicing or less, or law students about what they can do with their law degrees. Could you share a little bit of advice about that?
Sure, of course. And I think that's a good question, and be happy to help your audience. Law school, I think, teaches you how to think, right? And there's some people who actually don't take the bar and don't become an attorney, and they may use their law degree for something else. They might be a creative, or they might want to go into entertainment and become an agent. Whatever your path is, that's fine. I still recommend take the bar. That's why you went to law school. But if you don't want to do that, use the skills, right? Use the skills that you learned. So I always like to say that for any good attorney, there's a triangle of three main skills, right? To me, it's communication, judgment, and writing, right? Those three, I think you need to be a good attorney, but you can have those three skills to be a good JD, a
Mm-hmm.
non-practicing attorney, right? So again, communication, that's every aspect of your life, even non-professional, like we said, dating, right? Convincing someone. Use that communication skill to go be a broadcaster. Writing, well, go be a journalist, or if you don't want to be an attorney, be a screenwriter, right? Write the great next American novel. There's so many things you can do, right? And judgment goes to every aspect of your life, whether professional or non-professional. So with that law degree, just figure out a plan, right? Have a plan and then execute and use those skills. I think really at the end of the day, whatever profession you go to, you'll learn it, right? Year, 2, 3 years, and then, like they say, once you're doing that for 10 years, you're an expert. But it's the hunger, it's the drive, it's the determination, it's really caring about what you do. And hopefully, some of law school helps you with that, that I think separates, the elites from the others, right? The Kobe's, the Jordans, and the Tom Brady's. These folks, they have a different instinct, a killer instinct. So just use that in whatever your interest is in life, and I hope you'll be successful.
I want to say it's not ironic. What am I trying to say? It's funny to hear you talk about killer instinct, and you're really calm. You're very measured, right? But I think the dichotomy of the two is good because you can have excellent judgment and enjoy talking to people and not be that overbearing lawyer that you see on all the movies that's like in your face and super aggressive. I think you're showing us an example that being a lawyer, practicing is whatever you want to make it. And I think that'll be really good for the audience to learn.
Yes, exactly, and I think some comments and advice on day to day for the 5 year attorneys or less. It's not always about what you see on billboards with attorneys crossing their arms and being ultra aggressive, or what you see on TV with folks banging their hands on the tables. It's knowing your opponent, right? It's knowing how they interact, right? Sometimes you got to be aggressive, but sometimes you got to be nice and treat them kindly, and you'll get more that way. Sometimes it's a little bit measured, in between, right? I think knowing how to communicate again and interacting with the other side is going to lead you to understand how to settle a case, because you can be ultra aggressive, but to some people that would turn them off. But if you're more aggressive, maybe that has that person cave in. So know the person that's sitting across from you. That's one of the best advices I can give young attorneys.
That's excellent. So, Bryan, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.